Through this video, I basically want to discuss the idea of poetry. Now, what is poetry? Poetry is more of an art that is expressed through literary ideas. And literary ideas basically means anything through literature, as in like writing, short stories, fiction, nonfiction, that sort of area. Poetry typically has a rhyming scheme. Almost all of poetry has rhyming scheme. Certain poetry and certain areas of poetry do not have rhyming. It does not always have to be rhyming, but it does need to follow a series of rules that poets have established over the years and English teachers have also established. So, in order to write poetry, you need to adopt a certain style. Typically, my style is a style of Shakespearean sonnet combined with Edgar Allan Poe and Dante Alighieri all together. So, if you know any renowned poets or you know any type of poetry that you're willing to choose or your own style, then you can take from other styles and copy what you can. Also, there's different types of poetry like haiku, sonnets, Shakespearean sonnet, Italian sonnet, all these different types. You don't always have to follow an iambic pentameter, even if it is part of the style. Basically, just follow the rhyming scheme that poses with the style, and the idea behind the style. For example, Shakespearean sonnets typically have A B A B, C D C D, E F E F G G as the rhyming scheme. So basically, the GG um, concludes the poem. It gives the main idea of the poem. And typically Shakespeare used iambic pentameter, which is his form of his meter, and it flowed very well with his language. But sometimes it's very difficult to use iambic pentameter due to lack of certain words or lack of knowledge. So you don't always have to use the iambic pentameter, but it's important that you conclude your poem with the GG if you're doing a Shakespearean sonnet, and then it concludes what your main topic you're trying to get at. If you're not trying to get at a main topic, then you don't have to really conclude it. You just have to have the GG, and the GG have to rhyme together. Just like the A, B, and then A, B, those rhyme. The A's rhyme with the A's, the B's with the B's, and that kind of thing. And the Italian sonnet follows a similar pattern as well with that. And there's also like a type of pattern that's more three verse. It's like you can go A, C, whatever rhyming scheme that you're comfortable with is the rhyming scheme that you should go with, because that makes more sense. And with modern poetry nowadays, you don't always have to use old words. You don't always have to try your hardest to find the most eloquent word that you can ever find. It can be as simple as slang, and then you can do that, and that's modern poetry. But you can also do old-fashioned poetry, where it's very like old style. You use words that not many people know. You use SAT words, you use big words, you use words from other poets. Typically, that flows a little better with certain audiences than the modern poetry. The old poetry typically has greater emotion, and the modern is more lighter and humorous. So whenever you're writing a poem, though, you always want to have a sort of tone and this mood that you can portray to your audience. Your audience could be anyone, but you're trying to please the common person to it. If you're melancholic and you're feeling very melancholic that day, then you should probably write about it and express your emotion through poetry, and then it will get the feeling to your audience. As, for example, I did a poem with a mist. A mist, to me, is a symbol of some sort of confusion. So I used confusion and mist and put them together and made my tone confusing. If you're trying to get at a point or make it didactic so that it teaches a moral lesson, then you can do that too. But it doesn't always have to be that way. There can be disillusionment, where you're thinking something's going on in the poem, and then all suddenly it's illusions at the end, and you realize it, or it could be some kind of moment, you know. And poetry doesn't always have to be eloquent, as I said. It can just be whatever your heart put out. So poetry is up to you as a person to express yourself to the world, and just my advice is to give your emotion into the work of poetry. And the worst people can do is criticize you, and then you can become better at writing poetry. So that's my advice on poetry. If you need any assistance or need anything else, please ask. Good luck.